Hey everyone. So about a week ago, I received a message from a woman named Brittany about going through the 1911, specifically a Kimber 1911 of all the parts and what they do and where they go. Um, I don't have access to a Kimber Custom 2, but I do have my own personal 1911 that I built that's extremely similar, and there's only one, maybe two parts missing, which I'll explain where they go so Brittany understands that. So I'm gonna break into my personal 1911 that I built, and I'm gonna pull it apart completely, and then I'm gonna go through each one of the parts and explain what they do and where they go. So this is gonna be a little bit of a longer video. So if nobody wants to know anything about it or anything like that, you can go ahead and stop watching if you want. But this one is specifically requested by Brittany, and I'm gonna do this one for you, Brittany. All right, here we go.
For years, tired from my 20s, the whiskey bottles and beers, tired of smiling while I've been holding back tears, but I believe I can do it, so I'm here. I'm a believer. I've been told I have a death wish, no one's interested, cold and too aggressive, close to hypertension, I'm broken from the pressure, explosive with my temper, I'm sober, but I'm stressing and hoping it gets better. Am I falling off? Should I give it up or put it all on pause? Let go of the stream so I can visit home and talk to mom? Maybe all I need is another Instagram post with a quote about believing in yourself when you're low. You don't think you're a fighter? I know you are. You are a liar. You say you are. You don't think that you're worth it. I think you're wrong. And I think you're perfect the way that you are. Maybe I'm weaker, and I know I've lied before, but I'm a believer. Nothing is impossible. I'm a believer. I believe. I'm a believer. I believe. You don't think you're a fighter. I know you are. You are a liar. You say you are. You don't think that you're worth it. I think you're wrong. And I think you're perfect the way that you are.
Your new home needs more than just paint. It needs the power of CertaPro painters. The power of a customized plan that brings your vision to life. The power of the pro. Serve your project at CertaPro.com.
I would go to yoga, but I don't have the right gear.
Save on all the best activewear at Sierra.
Also, I might have sent a late night text to my instructor on his honeymoon.
Fishing gear at Sierra.
Well, you can't go back to yoga.
Let's get moving.
Bottom of the night, up against the odds, running out of time, only got one shot. When it's ready, do or die. When your back's against the wall, when you're fighting for your life, you believe in you or not.
All right, we are fully disassembled now. Okay, I'm gonna point out a couple little differences here with some of the parts here, and I'm gonna go through each part before I put it in and explain how it goes in. Completely bare frame. Okay, the biggest difference between my frame and the Kimber Custom 2 frame is there's a secondary hole right here that hole is for your firing pin safety. When you look in here inside your slide, there's going to be a piece in here that moves up and down. And in order to get your firing pin out the back after you take the plate off, you're going to have to push that button in order for the firing pin to come out. That's an added safety on Kimbers that my gun does not have. And it's not a relevant thing to me personally. I mean, it's the biggest difference between the Model 70 and the Model 80. This would be classified as a Model 70. Yours would be more considered a Model 80 with a few different parts in it because it's a Kimber and it had to make it different from the Model 80. Okay, back to the frame. All right, parts. First parts that go back into the gun after it is disassembled fully. The very first part that goes back in is the trigger. The trigger goes in through the back of the frame, just like this. It slides right in. Make sure your angle is angled towards the front of the gun. See how the angle is right here? Make sure that is angled towards the front of the gun before you put the trigger back in. Otherwise, it won't work properly or won't go back together properly. Slide it all the way forward, as far forward as it goes. After you put that in, your magazine release has to go in, okay? Magazine release can only go in one way. It drops in place. After you drop that in place, you need a small screwdriver, which I have right here. Screwdriver or a hex wrench or something like that, whatever the screw is in there. And if you look, can you see it moving? You need to push it forward and you need to find the sweet spot to where that screw will go in. And when it turns, you hear a click, it pops off the spring, and then it'll go right into place, just like it should. Now it should be tensioned, so it'll stay in place. All right, next thing that goes in is your sear and your disconnector, and in this case, it would be your safety, your firing pin safety also. They would all go right into the back of the slide right here, and you kind of have to finagle it just a little bit. If you look at that first video that you watched, Brittany, the frame, it comes apart and goes back together exactly the same way. This is your disconnector, and this is your sear, okay? They go together like this. And then what happens is your hammer sits on this like this when it's at rest. And then when the hammer's cocked, the hammer comes back, it catches on the sear, that's your half cock, and that's your full cock notch. When you pull the trigger, it comes back, hits the disconnector, drops the sear off the hammer flies forward and hits that firing pin, okay? Now we're gonna take this and we're gonna put this in. I use a tweezers because it's the easiest method of doing it, of holding on to the trigger, the sear and the disconnector at the same time. I put them directly into the frame, so they go right through the hole, the disconnector hole, just like that. And then I take the sear and disconnector pin, which is the smaller of the two, put it in, and you might have to do a little finagling here to get it to work right or go through, but it'll go through. There it goes, just like that. Now your sear and your disconnector are in. Okay, next thing that goes in is your hammer. Hammer goes into place right after the sear and the disconnector, right behind the sear and the disconnector. Your firing pin or your hammer pin goes right in just like that. Make sure your hammer arm is up like this towards the top. It's the easiest way to get your mainspring in. Mainspring goes right in, and you can see there is a little notch right there. Make sure you let it get its, let's see if I can do this right. This goes in just like this. On your sear, on your disconnector. And then at the very bottom here, it goes in that notch. Okay, now you can bring your hammer arm down. I always like putting my mainspring housing on now because it holds everything in place. Put it on just like this, just so it puts a little tension on that mainspring there, just to hold everything in place, because now nothing will come out. Okay? And can bring your hammer back so it holds that in place where it needs to be, just like that. Now your hammer arm and everything are all held right in place, right where they need to be. Okay? From there, I take my grip safety. Grip safety goes in. Grip safety popped in. Now I take the back side of the safety, which is the flat one, like this, not this one, which I don't think the Custom 2 has a ambi safety on it. I think it only has one on one side. So I would take that, would be this piece. This is your detent for your safety. Put that right in here, just like this. And then your safety goes in just like this. Just like that. And then from there, what happens is you gotta take a small Allen tool or a dowel of some type, tension this spring. Oh, hammer has to be all the way back for the safety to work. So, and then it'll pop down just like that. And then your safety will functionally work. Okay. Then from there, what I do is, because your hammer is cocked, you pull the trigger, let the hammer ride as you're pushing in on the mainspring. See how I'm doing that? I'm pulling. It's a little tricky to do, but you can do it. And then push up and see how the mainspring housing goes up into place, just like it should. Your mainspring housing pin goes directly in there. And then mainspring housing pin. There you go. Safety's in. Okay. Now, all right, I gotta fix this real quick. Since I have an ambi safety, I gotta put this together properly, otherwise it's not gonna work. There we go. Jumped the gun there just a little bit. Just goes to show we're all human. And we'll get this set up right real quick. Just give me a second here. I don't believe in editing. I think it's for people who think they're perfect. So it'll only take me another second or so to get this done. There we go. All right. Now we're good. Now it's ready. See, safety functionally works well. All right. I'm gonna put these grips on real quick, and then we'll get back onto the slide. Mm-hmm. 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 All right, here's the frame all together. Okay, now the slide. Like I was saying, there's going to be a couple extra or one part that is actually going to be like right in here. It's going to be a piece that you can push down. It actually will be on the same side as your extractor. So it'll be on this side. Yeah, this side. It's gonna be right inside the rail here. Okay, it's gonna be a button you're gonna push, and your firing pin's gonna pop out. Now, when you go to put your extractor back in, you're gonna have to push down on that with your thumb to get your extractor back in, just to get it to line up properly. Okay, so your extractor goes in just like that. Take an Allen wrench or something like that, make sure it's lined up properly and flat. That's how you check. And then you'll have to push down on that button one more time to get your firing pin in, which is actually kind of nice, because then as you put the firing pin in, you push down on that and it'll hold it in place for you. Whereas mine, I don't have anything to hold it in place. So it's kind of nice. It's actually a nice little added security level that your firing pin doesn't go flying on you. And then you take your back plate, slide it in just like this, and then as you pull your punch out, that's holding the firing pin. Dink, there's your firing pin. Check it to make sure it works. Now, in order to make sure that your firing pin goes through, you're gonna have to push down on that tab to make sure your firing pin goes through the hole. I check it all the time just to make sure, but you don't have to if you don't want to, I guess. Barrel collet, after your barrel goes back in, just like this. Your barrel collet goes in off to the side, just like that. Then you're going right back to the field strip, just like I'm sure you already know how to do. Oh, I gotta put my guide rod in. Can't go without that. Guide rod on, slide all the way back. In with your barrel lug. There we go. That on. Recoil spring, guide rod cap, and there she is. There she goes. There it is. If you have any other questions, Brittany, please feel free to reach out. Have a great day, guys.